All right. Welcome, everybody, to our eco-friendly Rotary Club meeting. I hope you had a great weekend, and we have a wonderful speaker here lined up today. So we'll go ahead and get it kicked off. Let's begin with our bell. 2 weeks in a row, we got the bell going, rock and roll.
Great. There'll be a special class for you, Denise, when you take over next year on how to run the bell.
Oh God, I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but we'll see.
I would just go ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
Such a pain. Between technology and good technology and bad technology, right? Well, let's start with our four-way test. So anybody who's able to go ahead and unmute your microphone, and I'll click just to keep us in cadence. So the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth?
The truth?
Is
it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill?
Differentiates?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That sounds pretty good. That was pretty good. Not bad. Not bad. I don't see anybody hiding behind the screen for visitors. We do have a special guest, of course, but we'll save that introduction for just one moment. But if there is any visitor hiding behind the scenes, by all means, let me know now. All right. For announcements, I just wanted to give you a little teeny tiny feedback about the training from this past weekend on Saturday in Port St. Lucie, Florida at Kaiser University. But I'll hold that for just a second. Today is the last day of Vocational Services Month. I try to keep the Facebook page updated with all that kind of fun stuff to get the word out and talk about the next month of service, etc. But are there any other announcements before I tell you about the training?
I do have one. I've been contacted. Jula, this guy is your friend. He was your friend. He's. Let me see. Hold on, just one second. Let me see if he's here. The man from Pakistan contacted me on Facebook. He apparently is a mutual friend.
Over Khan.
Okay.
Khan, and
oh
yeah, he's quite insistent. I can't begin to tell you the number of messages I've had from him. He's looking for some financial. I finally had to tell him, just please wait till I go to the meeting, because I have page after page after page. He's looking for a little bit of financial assistance from our club for the teacher salary. Is that sewing thing. They're looking for a sewing machine, and so he gave me a whole big long list of things. It totals about $5,000, and I said, well, that's just not going to be possible.
Yeah, that's not happening.
That's not happening. But possibly we would be willing to chip in for a teacher salary of $120 or a sewing machine or $70. And I put his request for instructors on our Facebook page. Sorry, I've got a contractor hammering in one ear.
If we could just, I was going to say, Kimberly, this doesn't sound like an announcement per se, but a request. We can put it on our agenda. Let's put it on our agenda for the next board meeting.
The board. Yeah, that's a board meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll send all this to you since I'm not on the board anymore. I'll send all this to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements from the group? No? Okay. All right. So just a quick, there's so much discussed at the training last weekend, but I'll tell you about the takeaway. First of all, we had a wonderful weekend, and our president nominee, our Rotary International president nominee, who's from Pennsylvania, was there live with us. So that was a pretty special treat. So I would encourage you, if you're not already following the Facebook page for 6930, make sure you go and find that on Facebook right away, because there's some great photos and some great live video. They actually did a live, like a Facebook live event. And so that was really cool. I think they're doing a wonderful job, and I'm so proud of the leadership team at the district level. They're doing just a tremendous job. So please go find that on Facebook, and you can see some of the things that we talked about. But as a takeaway, as an immediate action item, and there's a lot more fun ideas to come, I promise you. As an immediate action item, though, what I wanted to do was bring everyone's attention to our action plan templates and action plan, I guess, project ideas on My Rotary. And so I can put this link in the chat in just a second here, but here's my request to put it plain and simple. I would like to break everyone up into 4 groups and maybe start meeting via email, and I can just break those groups up, or we can volunteer, or whatever we want to do. But think of it this way. Think of yourself as being voluntold, volunteered to join a committee for this club, to make this club better, and to make this club more sustainable, and to make this club just more fun in general for everybody. The idea is that we break into 4 groups, and I'd like you to think about one of these 4 things. And if you have interest, you can drop it in the chat and say, I'm definitely interested in impact, or I'm definitely interested in expanding our reach. But the idea is that I'd like to start assembling some groups of folks to think on, maybe even meet on, but definitely kind of email on the following topics: increasing our impact, expanding our reach, enhancing participant engagement, that's us, and increasing our ability to adapt. So think on that. That's your assignment for today. So while you're listening to our wonderful speaker, think on which one of those you'd be most interested in. Drop it in the chat. I'll sort all the details out, and if I don't hear from you, I'll just drop you in a group that I think would be fun for you to be a participant in, and then I'll send some emails out to talk about what we can do moving forward. All right, that's your assignment.
I'm just going to wait and see what Sam thinks I would think was fun. So I may just wait for you to assign me to one. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody have any questions? So on that one, and I assure you, there's lots more to come. I'm super excited to share. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and jump ahead. I don't see our sergeant on. Would anyone like to be our sergeant for the day? Susie, go ahead. Sounds like you're all about engagement.
100 years for the previous club. So, okay, everybody. So take yourself off mute so you can participate. And so for our speaker, we have what we collect dollars, and you can contribute whatever you want. We don't expect you to, Philip. But so what we do is we just do it on a trust basis, and you just send a check in every month or whatever to pay your dues. So we have dues for all kinds of different things. So for example, let's talk about who's wearing their Rotary pin today. I am not, true confession, I never think of it. So if you're not wearing a pin or a Rotary shirt or something like that, you need to commit to paying $1. And Sam is always the good boy. He's such a Boy Scout. He's always doing the right thing. So that's cool. So the rest of you owe us all $1. How about, do we have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up? Who's got what? Denise.
It's my parents' anniversary that is coming up. They'll be married 34 years this Friday.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Are you sending them away? Are they going away? What are they doing?
Well, they are leaving for Thailand the Monday after, so for 4.5 weeks. So they're gonna enjoy themselves probably. But we're gonna have dinner, just me, my sister, my parents on Saturday evening. So I'm looking forward to that to celebrate. And I ordered this very, very nice thing online, which is it's like a metal sort of silhouette of 2 birds on a branch, and you can hammer that into a wooden post or something, and it'll start to sort of get the rust colors in, but it'll stay strong and firm. It's made of a type of steel, but it just it resembled 2 lovebirds, so I figured that's a nice gift.
I have seen that.
That's
I've
great.
seen that same kind of concept on sale various places, mostly online, but I have seen that's very cool. What a nice gift. What a nice thought about your parents.
Yeah.
Not sure I would have done the same for mine, thinking of them as lovebirds, but
That's
very
right.
cool.
I figured if they're still together after 34 years, it's probably okay.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's just easier to stay there. Not to ruin your illusion of your
No,
parents.
I know for
Sorry.
a fact that they're happy, so it's good.
Didn't mean to throw cold water on that, Denise. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. Anybody else have an anniversary or a birthday or anything coming up? I know Roy Classo has a birthday coming up, but that's a couple of weeks out. So
I'll
a
give a
good
quick
couple of
one,
weeks out.
Susie.
who said that?
Julia.
Who said Julia? Okay.
Julia. I can't
Julia,
raise my
sorry.
hand because I'm driving. But I will give $1 for the 100-year anniversary of Rotary in the Netherlands. Yay,
That's
which
a
we
good one. I never
celebrated.
heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. Any other anniversaries, birthdays? Okay, moving on. Let's start with sad dollars because we always like to end on a happy note. So anybody who has anything they're sad about this week, football games, teams, Super Bowls, whatever, Roy Cloudsdale.
I've got a sad dollar. We lost a young horse yesterday, only 5 years old.
Hmm.
He had colic and he was beyond surgery.
Oh dear. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was one Charlotte had in training.
Yep.
That's tough. I'm very sorry.
A very sad day.
Yeah, that's hard to lose an animal so large, you know. There's such a big presence in our lives. Yeah, that's a sad dollar. Anyone else have a sad dollar? All right, let's move on. You better be a happy bunch then if you don't have a lot of sad. So who's got a happy dollar? Sam, 2 hands up.
I've got two different things, and they're probably worth more than $1, I guess. So I've been contacted by my friend who does an education nonprofit, and I've been invited to go to Kenya in August, and so I'm really excited about that. And we're gonna do an awesome training at a rural village in Kenya, and then potentially I sincerely hope that we're going to do some kind of safari or something on the way out before we leave the country. So I'm really excited about that. And now I forgot because that was like so exciting. I just the other one, I can't remember the other one. I just requested some time off, and so I'm going to go to Louisiana. And for everyone who is either A, Catholic, or B, familiar with Louisiana, or C, you just watch too much TV. That's Mardi Gras time coming up in Louisiana. So just so you know, and I'm really excited about that. We're going to drive over on the Saturday before Mardi Gras and hopefully be able to catch a couple of my favorite parades in Baton Rouge, where I'm from. And yeah, haven't been around for Mardi Gras too much in the last couple of years with COVID.
Cool. Well, that sounds fun. In Kenya, you should be there during the wildebeest migration. So you should be able to see that. It depends on the rains in Tanzania as to whether they come up into Kenya or not. And I was there in 2018 for the migration, and we didn't see it because it had rained enough in Tanzania that they said, yeah, we don't need to travel, we'll stay here. So you might not get to see it, but generally every year you'll get to see it. That is an amazing experience. So I hope you get
Just don't get in their way like in the Lion King or anything, that's
yeah, stay out of the way. And like they're having to teach these stupid American tourists in Yellowstone and places, don't pet the fluffy cows. Yeah, so because they'll gore you and toss you around and so forth and so on. Okay, cool. Anybody else have some happy dollars?
I have a happy dollar.
All right, Denise.
Well, I have a happy dollar for seeing Jula and Els, which was really great, and I enjoyed my time. And I also have a happy dollar because I am gonna get together this Friday with 2 new people that I've never met before, but we met online through a board game geek sort of group because we wanted to play board games and we couldn't find anybody to play them with. So I'm going to meet them. They're 2 women of my age. We live nearby, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it, meeting new people.
Sounds fun. Awesome. Where else? What else? I was looking for a joke. Who else has a happy dollar?
I think did I raise my hand? Yeah, I raised my hand.
Yeah.
I raised my hand.
Okay.
That's Kimberly.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm happy to see the Phillies and Kansas City. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl, and I like a good Super Bowl. So I hope it's not a blowout. I hope it's really close and it keeps us on the edge of our seats, and we have a fun Sunday.
It should be. That's February 12th, right? I'll be out of the country, but
Well, you'll be in Antarctica.
Antarctic somewhere.
Or leaning over the side of the boat.
Hopefully not, but yes, I could
Drake.
be. I could be. That's the 12th. I should be in calm waters by then, so I will have.
Hopefully so. Yeah, I think
hopefully will not
it's
be.
fun because the Kelsey brothers are going to be playing against one another, and and I like the Philly Kelsey boy. I think he's cool.
I'm not a big fan of watching team sports because I'm always so conflicted. I always feel so bad for the team that's losing, and then if they swap, then I'm really conflicted. So I'm just not much of a team sports person. Anybody else have their hands up? I can't see anyone else. No. Denise, were you waving at me or are you just turning off your screen?
No, I
Alright.
was answering a text that Sam was sending me.
Okay, Mike, what's the latest on your house? You were filling me in a little bit. It didn't sound wonderful.
Well, we haven't had any offers. How's that?
Yeah, that doesn't sound wonderful.
So we're gonna be here a while, I think.
Yeah.
Prices have
Alright.
come down dramatically, and couple of things have moved in here, but anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, but we need to try to get together at some point. So, okay, so anybody else have their hands up? I'm not seeing anyone else. Okay, well, I have a joke to share courtesy of Dave Andrews. So if you don't like it, you can discontinue him. So this woman was in the house and her husband was sitting there just reading the paper, and his wife comes up behind him and whacks him in the head with a frying pan. He says, "What was that for?" She says, "I found a piece of paper in your pants pocket with the name Mary Lou written on it." He says, "That's nothing. Remember 2 weeks ago, I went to the horse races. Mary Lou was the name of one of the horses I placed a bet on." And she said, oh, okay. Well, all right. Sorry about that. A couple days later, he's again just sitting there reading the morning paper, and she comes up after she hangs up the telephone and whacks him on the back of the head again. And he says, "Well, what the heck did I do wrong this time?" She says, "Your horse just called." All right, with that, I will hand control back to the president and sign off. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Wonderful job. Thank you so much, Susie. I appreciate it. It's like you were born for this. All right. Let me go ahead and turn over the welcome to Denise, our president-elect, for an introduction to our guest speaker. I'll mute my mic.
So today we are listening to Filip Westers. He is 22 years old and he has a Bachelor of Science in Public Administration at Leiden University. He is currently doing a Master's in International and European Governance, also in Leiden. And he also has a minor at, hopefully I pronounced this right, but Vasa University in Finland. And his hobbies are tennis, horse riding, and football. So without much further ado, hereby I introduce to you Filip Westers.
Well, thank you all so much for having me over here, and thank you, Denise, for having my dad basically invite me for me.
There you go.
I'm
You're
gonna be
welcome.
really honest.
Yeah, we sort of arranged as me and his dad arranged that he was going to speak to us, so that's how it worked.
So a bit of context is that last university semester, so the last 4 months of 2022, I spent in Vasa in Finland on a university exchange. And here one of my professors, he asked me, since I studied public administration, he asked me to give a speech at a conference of the International Institute of Administrative Sciences and the Nordic Association of Administrative Sciences. And because they wanted to have students speak, which was great fun. And then my dad basically was like, "Oh, can I please go tell this to other people as well?" And then, well, Denise had jumped at the chance, I think. I'm going to try to share my screen, even though I've been in many Zoom meetings before. Of course, I have no idea how to work there. This one.
Where are you physically located?
I'm currently in Leiden in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And also, I'm very sorry if I'm not constantly looking at you, because one of my two screens is located above the other. So it's a bit of watching up and down, and I don't mean to be rude. Please just play. Well, it's going to be like this. So basically what they asked me to do is talk about a European perspective of the future of public administration. Well, obviously I had a nice introduction in Swedish and Finnish, but thankfully you all speak English, which makes everything tremendously more easy. I hope you can see the website.
Yes, we can.
Yes, yeah.
Cool. So what I would like to start about is talking about water. because well, the Dutch have lots of it. Finland has lots of it in lakes. The US has lots of it in its rivers, in its Great Lakes, but they're more in the US. I think it's more like situated in the Great Lakes, and you have the Mississippi, which is of course huge, but it's not as bad as this. So what you see here is a country, the Netherlands, and this is how it would look like if there were no dikes or of any kind in the Netherlands. Everything that's blue is flooded. That can be 1 meter, it can be 7 meters. It really depends on where you live, but more importantly, about 10 million Dutch people live in all these blue areas out of the 17 million there are. So it is really important for the Netherlands to like have some sort of water management. The flooded area accounts for about 70% of our GDP. And yeah, we can't replace that with the very few people who live in the not flooded areas. So what did we do as the Dutch? We decided already in the 12th century that we should found high water authorities, which are basically like district water boards, as a means to protect ourselves from flooding. What these boards do and still do is managing water, overseeing constructions of dams in their respective areas. It's basically a very first form of governance, and this was even before there was like a real concept of the Netherlands. And since they are so important, they still exist, because, well, we still are very much at risk of flooding. And also, especially for that time, they are very democratic, because it's in everyone's interest not to get flooded, whether you're a peasant, a feudal lord, a rich trader in the city, or just a regular farmer. So they all had their voices heard in like these board meetings to like get a collective policy on staying dry. Their mandates nowadays range from cleaning the wastewater to ensuring that like the dikes around the rivers don't burst. And in this picture, which I hope you can see well, you can see on the right side here, like what they all do with it. It's all in Dutch, but I'll quickly explain it. So what they do is they manage the wastewater of industrial sites. They check for climate change, whether or not the dikes, if the dikes flood, where can they actually flood so it doesn't affect too many people, or should we just strengthen it all? They take care of the water, the amount of water that should be like on the land, so farmers have like arable lands to farm on. They also purify the water, so all the wastewater is handled by them. And also not very unimportant, they also do like the little streams, which, well, basically are everywhere throughout the country, because if they flood, it's 99% of the times way worse than when like it is the big river, funnily enough. And on the other side, you see like the Netherlands again, but how they are distributed across the country. And now this may, I don't think you know, but the Netherlands have 12 provinces, and these, obviously there are more, as you can see, there are more than 12 water boards here, because they're very much more focused as to where does the water, what's the logical stream of water around there. So river, this one especially, this is the Rhine River, it's flowing through this area. So they decided to just like, okay, everywhere the Rhine flows, that's going to be one authority, because it's easier to manage. And more also, they need, they are like this because they, of course, you don't want competition between these water boards. So we don't want municipality X implementing measures or water board X implementing measures that would severely affect the one next over, like dumping wastewater or doing something slightly different. So the Dutch government, and in the constitution, there's like a separate section for these boards. And of course, with the effect of climate change having a greater impact each year, They are more and more important in the future because, back to this picture, this part is of course all under sea level, but these parts, the parts that aren't blue, can also flood because of those rivers flowing there, or water surges caused by heavy rainfall. This was especially prevalent in 2021 when there was heavy rainfall in this area of Germany, France, and Belgium, where rivers burst from their banks, causing entire villages in Germany to look like this. And after the water passed, finally passed, over 200 people were dead. Hundreds of millions of euros had been caused in damages to building, infrastructure, you name it, it was broken. And of course, they said that the real horror was like exceptional, once in a lifetime rainfall. But the reality is that with climate change, these scenarios will be more likely. And the river that was overflowed the most is the Aare River, which is somewhere here in Germany. But because the valleys of the landscape there are very narrow, it basically becomes, the moment the river like breaks out of its banks, the entire valley becomes the river. So it's really bad. And compared to the Dutch, the Germans were also woefully unprepared for a disaster of this size. For example, they don't have like a central warning system where you kind of get a text that says the river is about to flood, go to like the attic of your house or try to find higher ground in order that you don't drown yourself. The Germans, they don't have that because they think the privacy of its citizens is important, but yeah, so are the lives of their citizens. That's what I believe. And what then there is this organization, the International Commission for the Protection of the Rhine, which is an international organization founded after the Second World War, with the original goal being to manage pollution levels on the Rhine River, because as you can see in the picture, the Rhine flows through Switzerland, slightly through Liechtenstein, France, Germany, well, not really Belgium and Luxembourg, but they have like water which also flows to Rhine, and of course the Netherlands. So if something goes wrong, like say in Strasbourg, in the end, everything downstream will suffer from it. Hence why this commission was created. But climate change will severely affect the Rhine River basin, probably with some negative effects, like extreme periods of high water, but also low water. And especially this low water is also is exceptional, because the Germans, they very much get their energy from coal plants, but all the coal that they use is transported over the River Rhine in these boats, which during low water periods, they're so full that they can't continue on their journeys because there's not enough water for them to actually safely float in the river. They will get beached. Hence, I discussed in Finland that it might be a good idea to have this international organization take up a more important and assertive role, where countries would use this as a platform to work together to exchange knowledge on how to manage river areas, or how to sit and how to make sure that there's like a constant level of water, which at this time it's not really doing, because there's like, sadly, with international organizations, you kind of need like emergencies to like really get them into action. And obviously the floods of 2021 were really bad, but they didn't happen the year after. So it's like, what is really going to be done? And this is also where climate governance comes into place. This is a very broad process where you need political commitment, frameworks, policy processes, and the engagement of stakeholders. So what does it entail? All the measures that are aimed at steering local social systems towards preventing, mitigating, or adapting the risk posed by climate change. Well, there are 4 pillars to drive it. And for public administration professionals, like I hope to be after I graduate. The last two ones are the most important. Political commitment is done by politicians and lawmakers who at the same time set the framework. They set the rules as to what can you do, what can't you do as a civil servant or as a public administration professional. But then on the other hand, you of course have you can commit to policy processes. You are the one that's actually holding the talks with the stakeholders in the area, which could be local government, an NGO, a very active Rotary club who's very interested in the river that flows through their town, you name it. And this is also very interesting because stakeholder engagement becomes very easily multidisciplinary in nature. So you have, well, lots of people attending those meetings. And this is a bit of a recruitment, although I don't think there's anyone going to be younger than me. But public administration professionals, they tend to have a background in a combined background of economics, policy, and law, so that you can sort of balance those various interests, because NGOs, interest groups, private companies, other layers of government, the municipal government, they all come together, and you sort of have to like manage it all. So it asks a lot, but at the same time, it is very much that knowledge that they have that can help get climate governance on the rails. And this is again a bit theoretical, I'm sorry, but this is very much the rage in public administration. It's called multi-level governance, where this picture explains it really nice, using Austria as an example, where you used to have like your local city was at the very bottom, then you have your province or state, and in the end you have the federal government. But this new multi-level governance approach also starts including trans-border or macro regions. So in the Netherlands, it will be a Rhine region where you work together with Belgium and Germany. But a US example, I think, is what you often call tri-state areas, where you have like such borders that then people start working closely together on a governmental basis. And what this means is this multi-level approach, which is being used more and more in Europe now, is that they work together as equal partners. So you don't have like the European Union handing down the rules, what such a city should do, but also the city can find other cities in different countries to like bring a project to the EU, ask for a subsidy, and if granted, they can get like a very beautiful project, which would be very great regarding issues about climate change. But yeah, there is of course one issue. The EU is very much an enabling actor because it offers this platform where you can work together, find new allies on certain policy issues. But at the same time, it is also very much an obstructing actor. We saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic, where of course the EU has its Schengen, which means you can travel anywhere within the Union. But the moment COVID happened, states started closing their borders, even though they were very makeshift with fences like this. And many like cross-border initiatives, they all collapsed. I had the pleasure of having an interview with the mayor of Maastricht, which is a town in the south of the Netherlands, very close to the Belgian border. So I asked her about cooperation with the Belgians during COVID, and she said like, yeah, we saw a decrease because the COVID rules changed per country, and nobody was willing to like travel to another country because all of a sudden they would have different rules, a QR code. Do I wear a face mask? Do I don't wear a face mask? It became such a hassle that in the end, they like dimmed it down and they stopped working together. But still the EU, of course, I think is the future, where because it's so big, it offers such a wide range of policy areas where you can work together with as European nations, that in the end it should be better. And the future of public administration, I think, therefore is an ever-changing one in a world that presents more and more complex challenges each day, and we will have to like find the best solutions for it. And now I just spoke mostly about climate change, but the pandemic as well, the recovery from it, it's still very much ongoing. How do we solve that? And the horrible war in Ukraine and the fallout that it brings, like what can you do as EU or as the European nations to like sort of band together and try to help the Ukrainians best again? And I think that as a public administration professional, you will get to play a pivotal role in this new setting. And I'm very much looking forward to it, but I'm also very curious how it will go. Do you have any questions?
Looking for hands for you, just checking. Does anyone have a question?
Denise has a hand, but I think she's clapping. Thank you. That was very interesting.
Yeah, that was clapping because it was really, really interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always impressed, such a tiny country, and you've done so much to, or they've done, I don't know. Are you Dutch?
I am Dutch.
You're Dutch. You all have done so much to reclaim the land and make it. I've been there many times. I used to have a boyfriend from Maastricht, and so I spent a lot of time over there, and it's just a beautiful country, and you've done so much, and everybody bands together to work together to make the country good. So kudos to you all.
Thank you.
I'll put my hand up.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
So obviously you follow the water shortages we have here, and an issue that has come up thanks to the heavy rains in California is why can't we save all this flooding water, because it tends to go right down for instance, the LA River, which is just a concrete basin to the ocean. And they have some small reservoirs, but our problem is trying to save the water for our needy areas. And are you familiar with that at all?
You mean like, I know in Colorado you have like the Hoover Dam, which like sort of drops which is now at a very low point. Do you mean?
Correct.
Scenarios like that?
Well, we benefited from a higher snowpack this year. That helps the Colorado River. Those two dams, they're really at risk of not functioning as hydroelectric plants anymore. But California has terrible drought areas in the center of the state, the Central Valley. And we've had all this rain. I live in Florida, so I'm a long way away. But they're trying to figure out a way to save the heavy rains and try to get that water to the deserts or where it is. I mean, Salt Lake City, the Great Salt Lake is drying up. It is really incredible what's happening in our country. And you made a comment, well, it's in everybody's interest, to prevent flooding. Well, it's like in our country, a lot of people don't believe it's in their interest to fight climate change or get vaccinated. We're kind of stupid over here sometimes. And so I was just wondering what your thoughts were about trying to preserve falling rain or snowpack in a way where it doesn't just flow out to the Pacific Ocean.
Well, regarding the LA River, I would just say get the concrete out. Just have like the bedding of the river be sand. Like make sure it can actually reach into the ground and not just like flow immediately into the sea, because that's obviously the worst that can happen, because it's all concrete. We see that this is also on your local front yard. Like if you have your big driveway with just concrete, no grass, you see like the rainwater immediately goes through the street, and your tiny patch of grass that you may have somewhere remains very dry. We have this problem in the Netherlands. I'm sure you will have it over there as well. So it's like it's already just this simple thing, like get the concrete out, and it will probably have like an improvement on the level on the groundwater levels and everything. So I think it's like something that small that you can like start with, and I hope it's bipartisan enough that all parties can actually agree to do something like that.
One of our biggest wastes of water in this country is on the production of almonds. Almonds apparently requires more money per nut than about any useful thing in our country, and almonds are great, of course. And the almond growers and other farmers don't want to give up one drop of their water.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. That's interesting.
I did read somewhere about the almond milk being wildly inefficient, but yeah. Maybe that's part of it. Wow.
Almonds and
there's-
avocados too. And going
there's
back to
also-
the, I'm sorry. Sorry, Eilish.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, there are 5 or 6 states that are affected by this out west with the severe drought, and they've been trying to come up with a plan for sharing the water, the Colorado River water, and they have been unable as states to come up with any sort of agreement. So they're saying now that the federal government is going to have to step in because of the low water levels on the Colorado River, because it feeds not just California, but the farmers in Arizona and other places as well, and in Colorado and I think 5 or 6 states. And they've been meeting now for years actually to try and resolve this problem, and they have been unable, no surprise, Kelsey's there, to come up with any sort of plan that would everyone would think was equitable to them. And so they're going to have to get the federal government involved. So we'll see, in answer to Mike's question, what's going to happen. But my hand was up because I had a question. Have you studied at all the issue with the Ganges River and the flow from the water, the lack of water from the Himalayas, the snowpack, and the effect that's going to have? Because that's over 1 billion people, who many of whom will be out of water probably within the next 30 or 40 years.
I can give a very short answer to that. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I have not. No. I studied public administration, and the very much the focus at my university, they already think it's very wide because they include Europe. This is something where the Dutch might be can improve at. Is like seeing like, ooh, there's more to the world, and especially in issues regarding climate change. Like, yeah, something might happen in India, like in the Ganges River drying up, which will undoubtedly affect the Netherlands as well. But this is like the issue with climate change and climate governance, is that not the immediate effect, of course, for me, to the Ganges being dried up. I don't know it. I'm not experiencing anything from it until it's obviously too late.
So they're coming across your borders because they don't have water at home.
Yes, but that will only be happening once they don't have any water anymore, and obviously you can't really do. It's very difficult to get like a dried up river to actually start transporting water again. So no, we don't really study it. Like it's really this Rhine, that this thing in 2021 where like the Rhine flooded. It was really like, oh, this is a very good case study, and from there on, my professors as well, they start to like be aware that, oh, this happens everywhere around the world. Let's get some more cases into it.
Thank you.
Susie?
Yeah, that was very interesting, Philip. Thank you so much for that. I can't remember what I was going to say now, but I'll make something up. I was just in Copenhagen, and I am so impressed with all of Europe in general that everyone seems to have bought into climate change is real, climate change is happening, and they don't argue about it. Maybe there are some who do, but not like in this country where it's a huge percentage of people, far too many, who still don't really believe that it's real. And I'm just so impressed that that in Europe in general, it does seem to be a little bit more of an understanding globally that this is something we all have to face. And in this country, it's like, hey, it's not really happening. It's a made up thing. And, I don't know, Jewish space lasers or whatever those idiots think. Anyway, but thank you for that and all for the work you're doing too. So that was very interesting.
Thank you. And indeed, we definitely have naysayers here. I have people in my friend group who are like, oh yeah, we went skiing in the Alps and there was very little snow, and it's just a one-time thing because now in January it's better because it's January. So they still very much like don't believe it or don't want to believe it. So we
Right.
have them over here as well, our lunatics.
Yeah. We have more than our share of lunatics.
Alish, do I say that right?
Thank you. Yes, that's fine. Eilish, whatever, anything except early in the morning. I didn't hear what you said, and I apologize for that because I was on the phone all the time. So I'm so sorry, but I will get the link and I will listen avidly to what you had to say. But I did hear some of the comments in relation to water and the lack of water in parts of the United States, particularly in the West. I do know that the almond growers and the cotton growers in California have very old, very long-standing contracts with the state in relation to water. And that cannot be changed. It will probably end up in the Supreme Court, and the farmers will probably win it. And that's in large part why they haven't been able to conserve much water, particularly in the state of California, because of an old deeds for the almond growers and the cotton growers. I'm growing cotton in a place like California and almonds is lunacy, but that can't be changed. It will end up in the Supreme Court. And from my research, it appears to me as if the growers would win that case in the Supreme Court, particularly the Supreme Court as it's currently constituted. Thank you.
Thank you. It's indeed very likely that they have something like that. I know that in the former Soviet Union, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, the area near the Aral Sea, it's like completely dried up as well because the Soviets decided all of a sudden, let's go plant cotton in the middle of the desert, and they use so much water for it that in the end the entire ecosystem is basically ruined. So if you like Google Aral Sea 1980 and Aral Sea 2010, you see like such a massive change. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Michael?
I'm back. Well, following up on what Susie said, among our naysayers, we had a recent president who said that climate change was a Chinese hoax. I'm not joking. He said this, and this is the mentality of probably 40% of our country. So I think we're doomed, but that's not my question. My question is, it's my understanding, I think that you have desalinization plants in the Netherlands. And if so, are you able to do that efficiently? Because we do not do that in California because we can't do it because we use more energy than we save.
I'm not very sure we have those. I think we get most of our water like from the rivers. There might be some. I'm going out on a limb here, but yeah, that is the issue with like making salt water fresh is obviously it's very energy intensive. And I know they do it more in the Middle East. Because it's like the heat is already there, so it's a bit easier. But no, I don't know too much about the subject actually.
So you don't think the Netherlands has desalinization plants?
I'm going to Google this for you because I have no idea.
How about Denise?
I'm just racking my brain, and I mean there might be some, but it's just not done on a large scale because no, I can't remember any of them. So I think most of our water comes from just from the earth and from the rivers. So yeah, we have lots of water.
We don't have them.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
so that's why. Thank you. Learned something.
I just like to tell a little story, which is salutary, which began as an Irish joke. I'm Irish, so we tend to tell jokes. There was an Irishman who went to Canada and he was looking for a job, and he ended up on this place where they were felling trees, and he was asked if he had ever felled trees before, and he said, I did, I felled trees all over the place. And he says, and he said, what do you mean you've felled trees all over the place? And he said, oh, I've been all over the world cutting trees here and there and everywhere. And he said, where was the last place that you felled trees? And he said, in the Sahara Desert. He said, but that's a desert. He said, yes, that's what they call it now. So that was a joke, but it's a kind of it's kind of a salutary lesson as well.
There's been some tremendous projects just on that note, Ailish, to kind of, to not that what you're saying doesn't have prescience, or it's not important, or it's not valid, or is not true. It's anything you even said in a joking manner can be very true. So it is. There are some Rotary projects. I know specifically when I was in China, there was a Hong Kong and Taiwanese Rotary coordinated effort to do, was it 1 million? I think it was 1 million trees a year. Like they planted 1 million trees a year across the, oh gosh, geography buffs. What's the desert in China? It's the Gobi,
Gobi,
right?
Yeah, Gobi.
Yeah, they did like 1 million trees a year for like years on end. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. But they're making real change, the real measurable change, and you can actually see it from aerial footage and whatnot. So just take somebody to care enough, and maybe a couple of Rotary clubs to to put together the ideas and the resources. It can change.
Yeah, as opposed to what Philip was saying earlier was the concrete driveways and things. And you drive by these new developments going in, and there's maybe 10 feet between the houses. And so you look at this and think there's grass in between them, but it's basically 3 meters. And you can't even, where's the water supposed to go? There's no place for it to absorb back into the aquifer. It all just hits the roof and runs down the driveway to the street, all concrete, and there's nothing to replenish our aquifers. It's the stupidest concept of development that I can't even imagine why people think this is good, because it's density, right? So I sell a $350,000 house. Instead of getting 4 in that space, I can get 7 in that space, or whatever it might be. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
I agree, and I think public policy has so much to do with that, of course. And my family is Mexican, Filip, and when we were in Mexico in December, there was a story on the news. They're fighting this constantly. There's a Modelo, which is. It's Modelo. Is it Modelo Corp? Yeah, anyway, they own Corona and everybody else. But anyway, I think it's Modelo. Yeah. And Coca-Cola are up in northern Mexico, which is an arid Sierra high desert region. And their productions are record highs. And they're literally just drinking up all the water, just drinking all the water from the surrounding area, and then selling it around the country to the US, to Mexico. So it's quite terrifying. But here's my comment I was going to say, is I'm from Louisiana, and so water management in Louisiana
you know a thing or two.
It's always near and dear. Florida as well, clearly Florida as well, but in Louisiana, I haven't even thought about this statistic in years, so it's going to be different, probably worse. I want to say it was a football field, and so I guess translation, we could say a pitch, roughly a pitch. American football, I think it's smaller, but anyway, so roughly a football pitch every 45 minutes whenever I was in school was being lost to the ocean. It was just incredible, absolutely incredible. So much so that there were places where the maps, people would drive their boats and the GPS couldn't even keep up. So you'd be driving a boat, and according to your GPS, you're inland, miles inland. It's crazy. But yeah, it's terrifying, and I'm so glad that people are thinking about this and taking the change and taking the efforts very seriously, because it needs to be done.
Yes, Yeah, no, the sinking of land into the sea is thankfully not a problem we really have in the Netherlands, but I know that around the world and also in other parts of Europe, it really is very, very much an issue where the land, like, well, we are already under the sea, but like we designed our country to be like that. And here, obviously, it's like just the sea is eating away the coastline near New Orleans and everything.
I live about 600 feet from the ocean, so I'm a little nervous.
I have
But
to
you're
run back.
selling your
I have to go
house.
back. I have to go back to class, but I just posted a couple articles about the Gobi Desert Forestation in the chat. One from Reuters and one from a company, a place in the UK. And there's a video on YouTube, but I couldn't get to the link to share that with you. But if you Google forestation of the Gobi, there's a bunch of stuff on the interwebs into Google. So you're welcome. And Houston has the same problem with, that's why Houston floods all the time too, is because everything is concreted over. And I'm going to go. Thank you so much, Filip. It was wonderful. And I will see you all next week.
Sam, you're closer to Miami than I am. The water's rising in Miami.
Yeah, I'm pretty far. I'm pretty far from the water where I'm at, and we're raised up. We're a nice, planned, developed community and everything. But that's no excuse not to care. You know, that's no excuse not to care. Just because you live in the mountains or wherever, you know, we need to take it seriously. And remember that building, that condo that collapsed just recently? It's a different story, I know. But the fact of the matter is, you see how big of a deal that was, that condo in Miami that collapsed. I mean, just imagine that times 100, times 1,000. I mean, this is not a joke. This is serious. This is very serious. So I agree. We should all be troubled. Well, with that, what did you have one more comment, Mike? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I said, thank you, Philip.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you. Very good.
Thank you so much, Philip.
Thank you all for letting me speak here as well.
Come again, anytime. We're here every Tuesday at noon. So you're more than welcome to join us.
You could
What-
stay
what
at
time is it?
Susie's house.
What time is it for you? Is it 9 or?
It is now almost 7 o'clock.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm a
It's
little
dinner
off.
time
Okay.
for them.
Good.
So I need to go do groceries and think about what I should go eat for dinner.
Us too, for lunch.
Same.
So,
Yeah.
I'd just like to comment on the comment in chat from Jen, where she said, "I've always planted trees, but I'm just one person." There was a man and his wife in Indonesia, and they bought land that had been cleared, very large patch of land, like maybe 200-300 acres. And they began to plant it when they built the house on it. They began to plant it over their entire lives, and they're now elderly, and they got their neighbors all to do the same. And apparently they now have thousands and thousands of trees planted. So it starts with one small step for man is a large step for mankind. So we can all do the trees. Thank you so much, and I will listen to your talk. Thank you so much, Filip.
And
Thank
with
you.
that, Philip, I'll go ahead and hit stop. And so this is recorded. We're going to be posting this up to YouTube. So if anybody wants to watch this, or if you want to go back and take a look as well, we'll make sure that you get included on that link. So here we go. We're going to stop. And before I hit stop on record, we can all say the Rotary motto, which is service
Service above self.
Service above self.
Philip, does the